Stefan Zweig was born on 28th of November in 1881. He was an Austrian journalist, novelist, and biographer. He studied philosophy at the University of Vienna and did a doctoral degree with a thesis on the philosophy of Hippolyte Taine. Religion didn't play a central role in his education. Even he said on an interview that my mother and father were Jewish only through an accident of birth. But he didn't abandon his Jewish faith and wrote repeatedly on Jews and Jewish themes in his histories. He had a relationship with Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism, who accepted for publication some of his early essays on the Vienna's main newspaper. Zweig believed in internationalism and Europeanism, so Herzl's Jewish nationalism didn't have much effect on his work. At the beginning of World War I, patriotic sentiment was widespread and extended to many German and Austrian Jews. Zweig remained a pacifist all his life and advocated the unification of Europe. He left Austria in 1934, following Hitler's rise to power in Germany. He lived in England, then he moved to the United States and settled in New York City. Then finally he moved to the Brazil, Petropolis. Feeling more and more depressed by the growth of intolerance, authoritarianism, and Nazism, and feeling hopeless for the future for humanity, Zweig wrote a note about his feelings of desperation. In 1942, the Zweigs were found dead of a barbiture overdose in their house in Petropolis. He had been despairing the future of Europe and its culture. I think it better to conclude in good time and in erect bearing a life in which intellectual labor meant the purest joy and personal freedom the highest good on earth, he wrote.
Stefan Zweig was born in 1881. Thus, he saw all situations before and after war, and normally they affected him directly. Before First World War, Austria was a kingdom. When the war started, all people, including Social Democrats, supported the war. Stefan Zweig believed that it was a war of brothers. However, at that time, explaining this type of thinking was extremely hard. Moreover, people start to cast out a person who was against the war. Stefan Zweig thought that no one knew about the war, and they saw it like a legendary and romantic thing. Finally, he started to work as a screener. It was the most humanist work in army. During the war, he tried to tell the absurdity of war. However, he couldn't achieve his goal. In Second World War, he faced to the worst side of the war because he was Jewish and he couldn't stay in his country. At that time, he became desperate, and he had no hope for future because of Nazi and fascism. All of this period and feelings can be seen in the story of Stefan Zweig. He criticized the fascism and Nazi, and wanted to show the bad side of the wars. His book, The Royal Game, is one of the examples for this situation. For instance, Dr. B represents Stefan Zweig, while Sentovich is symbolizing Hitler. And we can say that this book is his suicide letter. In other words, we can see all effects of the war in this book. In addition to the effects of war, Stefan Zweig had a rich family. Therefore, he could be interested in literature in his early ages. Moreover, at that years, Austria was a center for literature and science. During this period, Freud and Jung discovered new things in psychology. Stefan Zweig was affected by these discoveries a lot. In his book, he analyzed the characters successfully. He is one of the important biographers in the world.
Chess Story or The Royal Game, Schachnovelle in original German, is Stefan Zweig's goodbye to not only his literature but also his life. He published it in Buenos Aires in 1942, right before his suicide. It's been said that Zweig reflects himself through Dr. B. Zweig's manner appreciated as contradictions. While his colleagues already left the country, he chose to stay because of the fact that he has never shown a political attitude. However, he was forced to leave country. On one hand, he was a patriotic, on the other hand, he has pacifistic sides. Until then, Zweig experienced a dilemma inside against Germany. Therefore, the royal game was all about his dilemma and showed us that Zweig has nothing left to say.
This is his one and only book about Nazi regime. He wrote it while he was in Brazil. Unlike many other writers, he was famous while he was alive. His works was admired by people and international press, both Britain and German. Most of his works are collected and burned and prohibited by Germany. He committed suicide with his wife because he couldn't stand the idea of loss of Europe and European culture and the losing liberal Europe idea. Unluckily, after his death, Nazi regime fell down and Hitler surrounded, and most of his soldiers yielded. Now his farewell to literature is received as one of the great masterpieces. Descriptions, analysis he used, telling to be voice of European situation by one man's words, and symbolizing two different politic systems in one book by two different people with his Kafkaesque style. His book is now a prominent work. It gained attention of international press and sold more than 1 million even just in Germany.
I will mention about why did we choose the royal game and the significance of this book for our group. Also, I will create a relation between the book and text we have discussed in class. First of all, the writer of the book, Stefan Zweig, left an indelible impression for us. He studied philosophy in Vienna and Berlin University. In First World War, he voluntarily worked in Vienna as an officer. Also, he was a Jewish man. As one of the persons who involved the World War, we thought that Stefan Zweig has known the suffering, chaos, also mourning. Second reason of why we choose this book is the storyline. The main character of the story, Dr. B, arrests while Hitler occupies Vienna. On the other hand, his interrogation goes on the different way. He is imprisoned in an empty room. Even this situation is a big discrimination among people of Vienna. He never be exposed to physical violence because he is a prestigious person. In the room which is imprisoned, he is punished by silence and loneliness. He starts to get crazy as the time goes on. This technique of torture is the example of dehumanization, which we discussed on class.
I was responsible of visuals, audios and video editing. You saw the pictures I chose. And now I want to finish the presentation with the scene from the film of the book. In the scene you will see how he tries to play chess with himself and how he gets crazy in the room on his own. And have a nice day.
Also Bauer auf Blitzmann. Da gehörst du hin. Da hab ich dich doch hingestellt. Wo bleib? Bleib!
Wo ist denn mein Bauer? Der müsste doch dort stehen. Schwarz. Du hast ihn mitgenommen. Du hast ihn gestohlen. Du bist ein Betrüger. Jawohl, du bist ein Betrüger. Ein gemeiner verlogener Betrüger bist du! Ich spiel nicht mit dir. Ich spiel nicht mit dir. Nein, ich spiel nicht mit dir. Ich spiel nicht mit dir.